the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a new river thing. Virginia Tech fire, rapid pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as a valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big dog sports talk, lighten up the dark. He's got the scoop, faster than a sprint. Calling plays like a coach, every word's a hint. From the courts to the fields, the stories unfold. Rick's play-by-play, worth its weight in gold. With a laugh and a growl, he'll pull you in. Big Dog's podcast, let the games begin. Big Dog Sports Talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big Dog Sports Talk, lighten up the dark. Sports talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big Dog Sports Talk, lighten up the dark. Big Dog Sports Talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big Dog Sports Talk, lighten up the dark.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you? It is a Monday here on the program. Hope you're well, wherever you might be. Hit us up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. We'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments. And on our professional Door Incorporated text line at 391-0788. Hope everybody, all you fellow dads, had a terrific Father's Day weekend. I'm sure many others, if you no longer have your dad around, you kind of spend the day thinking about him more than anything else. That's kind of what I did yesterday. But please subscribe, like, and share the channel. What's up, Stingray? What's going on? Oh, I like that. Sting, W-R-A-Y-Y. That's cool. Please subscribe, like, and share, Stingray. Glad to have you. A lot to get to today. What's up, Antonio? Good morning, Prometheus. Reaction Monday, we'll have Coach Elmo on, and we'll have Todd Grantham give you your football fix. It was great. I know David Mabry was at the Single Wing Clinic this weekend, and he said Coach Ragsdale was holding court. So that's great. Great to hear. Thanks, everybody, again, for making Big Dog Pop such a success the other night. We'll do it again probably in a couple of weeks. All right? We'll do it. Where is location? We are in the southeast part of the United States, Southwest Virginia. That's where we are. Welcome. And please subscribe and hang on. We have 15 nations that are subscribed to the program. Hola, Antonio. So I have to make a confession here. As I got into the weekend, and this is, likely on me because I'm not a golf guy. I had no idea the U.S. Open was this weekend until Friday, until Friday late afternoon. Now, and I'm thinking, is that me, or is that where we are with golf on the national perspective? If it's me, I'll fully admit that it's me. But it seems like that the U.S. Open should have gotten a little bit more hype. I didn't see much of any of it on X. Is just where golf is now since the LIV split and all that? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking the question. And then I didn't know the back history of the guy who won, Wyndham Clark. I think it's his second U.S. Open title, and everybody hates him for some tantrum that he threw. And he has got asked a question about it, got booed. People wanted his ball to run off the green of the water. What in the world's going on with golf? But I had zero idea what was happening with the U.S. Open. Didn't watch, didn't care. And I hate that because, whenever that guy in the red shirt was there, on Sunday, I was watching. But in any event, Wyndham Clark wins. Apparently a very unpopular win with fans. But did you watch it? Did you like it? Is the U.S. Open still on your Sunday afternoon situation? I mean, are you sitting there going, okay, I got to watch the U.S. Open? Did it enter your psyche at all? Where's BDST legal counsel Richie Davis? Like I said, I'm sure it's on me because I'm not going to watch golf because I don't play it. But at the same time, I would have thought I would have heard a little more hype going into it. Scotty Scheffler was going for the career Grand Slam. But all you heard about after it was over was the controversy with Wyndham Clark. College World Series comes down to it, right? Carolina and Oklahoma for all the marbles. It's going to be good. It's going to be really, really good. Prometheus says, the only way I knew was in a group text and they were chatting about it. There you go. Okay, good. I feel better. Thanks. Well, hey, we've actually talked a little World Cup. It's not going to dominate this conversation, but yeah, we've talked a little World Cup. Go USA. How about this to anger the access media? Did you see Team USA? They're praying at the end of their matches. Oh, my God. What a travesty. Major League Baseball must absolutely be completely offended. Go USA. Hey, shut out Australia 2-0 on Friday. Hey, you'd be proud of me. I actually watched a little bit of that. Those guys, I'm pulling for him. I'm not a big soccer guy, but I'm pulling for him. Sure, anything the USA is competing in, I'm going to pull for. I'm not going to sit there and, watch every moment, but pretty cool. We haven't even got into the baseball thing. But Major League Baseball facing a lot of backlash from all over because players who have the Christian faith, fought back against being forced to wear the Pride gear for Pride Month. And they wrote Bible verses. But baseball said that was against their policy, that they violated their policy. So in other words, it's religious discrimination. But because everybody just accepts the fact that it's okay to discriminate against Christianity, no big deal, right? None of the baseball writers have covered it. If it happened to any other faith, then people would be, oh, my Lord, what an atrocity. But since it's Christianity, it's kind of not been reported on, which is wrong. Any kind of religious discrimination is wrong. And baseball's being very quiet about it. They know they screwed up. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with all this. The players are standing firm. They say, you're not going to silence my right to go out and worship in whatever manner I choose. Major League Baseball is a complete crap show right now. It's getting ready to lose the 2027 season. It's bad when former players are already talking about it. That's a very good point, Prometheus. Yeah. Yeah, so many Latino players in baseball, which is great. That's one of the things that attracts me to Major League Baseball is the worldwide talent in it, kind of like, people who like soccer. A lot of Christians, Latino, yeah, exactly. But you can't have it both ways. You can't try to say, hey, support our political campaign here, what we're doing, and then say that you can't worship in your faith just because you're a Christian. It's insanity, and how this was just accepted, how nobody's really reporting on. Yeah, the players did get their message out, and good for them. Good for anybody who's suppressed with however they decide to worship, whatever they decide to worship. It hit me, personally, therefore I'm Christian. So when I see all that, you realize it's just the same old trope that you always see. But anybody would have the right to be offended. And baseball drops the ball yet again. Rob Manfred is he's the most inadequate commissioner this side of Pete Rozelle. Of Roger Goodell. Pete Rozelle was one hell of a commissioner. Roger Goodell. T-Bird says the last 9 holes were great. That's awesome. I'm glad you liked it, man. That's awesome. Like I said, I'm not a golf guy. I understand if you're a golf guy. Didn't get a lot of publicity, though, for the U.S. Open, I would have thought, on Father's Day weekend. Big Al says golf has gone the way of NASCAR. NASCAR situation is very disappointing. The only time it's national news is when we tragically lose one of the best drivers on tour like we did with Kyle Busch. Yeah, I like golf. I don't play golf. I respect the hell out of the players. It's a skill that I will never have. And when Tiger Woods was running the greens, I was there every major Sunday. Absolutely. But he has literally, and I'm not trying to be funny here, but he has literally crashed and burned. And hasn't been anybody stand up and take on the mantle of golf star that intertwines the world like Tiger Woods. There never will be another one. There's not going to be another Michael Jordan, and there's not going to be another Tiger Woods. And then golf, of course, created this live tour madness that nobody cares about, with the Saudi Arabian money purses that in some instances triple what's on the PGA Tour. And it split the tour. Phil Mickelson has gone nuts. Commissioner Gordon was pretty weak too, but Batman kept him in his job. Very true. That's very true, T-Bird. Yeah, he wanted Commissioner Gordon to need him, I guess, right? That is correct. Michael Jordan is the USA symbol. Michael Jordan is arguably that's a great point. If you're an international viewer or contributor to the show today, do you look at Michael Jordan as being the one American superstar to this day that crosses over, that identifies American sport in your mind? That's a good question. Maybe that's our BDST fan question of the week, brought to you by the attorney Ryan Pry. Just like in music, Big Al says, there'll never be another Dave Matthews fan. One can only hope. By the way, Dave Matthews Band in the Rock and Roll. I got to do this now. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. A band like Styx is not. But by God, let's put me in the Hall of Fame. Sing. I should be in the Hall of Fame. Dave Matthews, when he sings, sounds like a monkey that has dropped half of its banana in the dirt. He's upset. That's Dave Matthews. It's MJ and Muhammad Ali. I would agree. Of course, Muhammad Ali. Rock and Joke Hall of Fame. Correct. Commissioner Gordon knew secrets and could turn on the bat signal, so he held it over Batman's head, Wayne said. What's up, Wayne? Yeah, Muhammad Ali was the world's biggest star. Of course, the controversy surrounding the draft and everything, but you know what? I don't care. He was a good man. He was a very caring man. And what he and Howard Cosell created during that time when he was a champion was one of the greatest back and forth, very intentional characters that they played on one another. They had a genuine like and respect for one another. And Muhammad Ali is the greatest fighter of all time. He's my boxing hero. He's why I had any interest in ever trying it myself. And he was very strategical, very smart about the way he fought. Wasn't the strongest, wasn't the best boxer. But man, I'll tell you what, he was a tactician. And when he cocked you, man, whew. From the smile on Watson's face that looks like a 16-year-old boy that had an accidental testosterone injection. We Big Dog listeners don't care and have no objection. Try on, Retro. Oh, was that a good impression? Thank you. Thank you. Everybody liking the Dave Matthews? That guy's in the Hall of Fame. Seth MacFarlane, who did The Family Guy, hates Dave Matthews too. There's several. He talks about it. It's just terrible. He's a multimillionaire. And, you know, my biggest regret about Ali, when in 2017, when Radford made its second NCAA baseball tournament, we were playing down at the Louisville Regional. And they were either the top team in the country. They were in the top 3 or 5. Louisville was really good at that point. And the Muhammad Ali, of course, he's from Louisville, Kentucky, and the Muhammad Ali Hall of Fame is down there next to the Louisville Slugger Hall of Fame, or down in the same area. And I got down there, and they have a bag. I was working out in the bag, you know. But his widow was going to come down, and I just missed her. She had just left like 25 minutes before, and I was like, oh, I just wanted to shake her hand, just wanted to meet her. That would have been awesome. But if you go to Louisville, besides all the bourbon, you need to go to the Muhammad Ali Boxing Hall of Fame. I spent several hours in there watching some of the video clips and just looking at all of his stuff. They have his actual training equipment, trunks, gloves. They have everything. It's really, really cool. Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth, historically, I guess, was the first, right? Let's just put it down that way. We're talking about American athletes here. So Babe Ruth, I'm just trying to think. I don't know if you count American football in that. Do you put American football in that? Because American football did not become, this worldwide phenomenon until Roger Goodell started playing 72 international games. The first mega football star was it Jim Thorpe? College? I don't know. It's a good question. Laura says, yes, agreed. Muhammad Ali is the greatest boxer. My dad loved Muhammad Ali. I cried when he went to see Ali Frazier fight closed circuit in Salem. Didn't take me, 1971. Wow, that's cool, Morris. Yeah, Jim Thorpe, the first sports superstar. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Native American, all right? One of the greatest athletes in the history of man. Jesse Owens, remember the track star? What about him? When he went over and stuck it to Hitler? I mean, if you read that book, in the face of everything going on, Jesse Owens. How about Jesse Owens? You got to throw him in there. Yes, Cassius Clay, correct. Joe Willie Namath. What's up, Get Some? Good morning. Please subscribe. Joe Namath was an absolute phenomenon. There's no question. He was the biggest marketed NFL star when he came into the league from Alabama. 100%. That's a great answer. Those days of sports were so much better, far fewer commercials, no banners and other clutter on the screen. Great announcers, simplicity that worked perfectly. No doubt about it. Sam Snead, McEnroe Connors with tennis. Yeah, I wrote about that a couple months ago in my Patriot article. What in the hell's happened to American tennis? We don't have any of that, and I miss that, Wayne. I'm with you, man. I loved that whole era. Was just so much fun with McEnroe and Connors, of course, Bjorn Borg and Yvonne Lendl. We hated them, right? And here comes Agassi and Sampras. Tennis had it going on, man. Andre Agassi was everywhere. He was doing national commercials. He was one of the most marketable people. Where did he go? Not Agassi, but where did the American tennis star go? We haven't had one. They tried to make Andy Roddick, but he sucked. So there hasn't been anybody after Sampras. And now golf, I think, is trying to find that. We think it's Scotty Scheffler. And I like Scotty Scheffler. But he's not Tiger Woods. There's no such thing. There's not going to be another Muhammad Ali. There's not going to be another Michael Jordan. People can continue to be silly and try to put anybody in Jordan's category, but just stop. You're either uneducated or too young to understand, right? You haven't done your research. It's just not there anymore. Jack Nicklaus, Jack Nicklaus was before Tiger, yeah. Corporate America has killed sports personalities, Big Al says. That's true to a certain point. I agree. Especially when you share the same agents. I mean, losing used to be the worst thing for any of these guys. And now, hey, man, we're agents. Let's swap jerseys after the game. You just beat us by 3 touchdowns. We're out of the playoffs. But, hey, let's get our picture to put on social media. We'll make some money on this. Let's go. I used to wait in line with my high school girlfriend during summer break just to get a slot on the tennis courts to play one game. Yeah, My brother was really good at tennis. I never was great. I liked to play it. I could hit the ball with him, but he had a scholarship, so he was good. Tennis was such a big thing, man. And I'm not going to lie, when you're a young dude growing up and then you get into the men's side of it and the women's tennis. I mean, I remember Gabriella Sabatini, Steffi Graf, who went. She's still married to Andre Agassi. They have a great relationship. The women's side was it was exciting. Sam Sneedmore says, have love for our local great golfer. Sam had a hole-in-one with every club in the bag except the putter. My number one boxer is, I agree, Muhammad Ali. I was a massive Sugar Ray Leonard fan. As we went through the eras, Mike Tyson, one of the saddest days of my life was when he was all screwed up and he got beat by Buster Douglas in Japan. Everybody was celebrating. I was devastated. I turned the TV off and I was so upset because that was not Mike Tyson. And then Manny Pacquiao was somebody that I just was blown away by his immense skill. The Pac-Man. Everybody remember Manny? Haven't really had one since Manny. I mean, Floyd Mayweather, I have a lot of respect for all these guys, the undefeated champion. I mean, but there were certain guys who stood out. Yeah, at every weight class. The key is just respecting the craft, right? It's a game, the game of boxing. You learn that early on, and you look at the craft. It doesn't matter about the stature. You just watch what they do, how they move their feet, the leverage, understanding the tactical maneuvers. And Manny Pacquiao was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Have to include Earnhardt, no question. No question. That's a great point for me. This NASCAR has not come close in any way, shape, or form from recovering on that tragic Sunday at Daytona. So much to the point to where eventually Jeff Gordon lost interest in being around the sport because Dale Earnhardt was no longer there. Tennis was huge. The girls loved it, so the guys tagged along. Right. I loved it. I never missed a Wimbledon, especially when one of the Americans was. Remember the night in Flushing Meadows? Remember Jimmy Connors? I remember who he was playing. It was a late night match. He was down maybe 2-0. And he had this one point, this unbelievable save, and then he hits it down the line, and he does the crowd. It looks like a football crowd at Lane Stadium when Mike Vick has scored a touchdown with 2 seconds to go. Remember that? You can find it. And Jimmy Connors it was just, man, you couldn't. It was so cool. Yeah, Burnell, Sweet Pea Whitaker. Yep. Oh, that's cool. You met him, Wayne. No, Sweet Pea's one of the greatest champions of all time. Boxing people put him in the proper connotation. Thanks, Andy. I wish I had the financial success of Joe Rogan. And Sam owned the most wins in the PGA for decades, 82. I think Tiger tied him with the last win. Do people worldwide know Derek Jeter or any other American baseball player? That's a good question, Matthew. Today? No. You know who they know worldwide? Shohei Ohtani, and rightfully so. Right? He's the greatest baseball player. That's a good question. A very, very good question. Would it be somebody like Jeter? Has there been anybody since? Ken Griffey Jr. There we go. Ken Griffey Jr. was the biggest baseball star, correct? And rightfully so. What's up, Razzle? Please subscribe. We're talking sports, man. Aaron Crickstein. Wow, there's a name. Yeah. That was the night in Flushing Meadows. He made just 3 unbelievable baseline saves. All he could do was defensively lob it. And then Crickstein hit a smash short. Connors jumped all over, and then boom. there was the fist pump. And that crowd, it was like a rock concert, man. And the personalities at that time that went along with the immense skill, we don't have that anymore. And I think Big Al said it. It's the corporate part. I don't know what it is, but what has happened to men's tennis star? Serena carried it for a long time on the women's side, right? She was the dominant player in the world. So women's tennis in America, because of Serena, stayed healthier in terms of championships and majors for a long, long time. We don't have that anymore. Even on the women's side, we don't have a star. Yeah, I have been. I watched U.S. and Australia. It's sad that when a team decides to have a group prayer at the end, it becomes a major story in today's access media. Oh, my God. Oh, what are they doing? They're praying? Believe that. Oh, no problem, Russell. No problem. No, we're not talking about historical wars. We'll save that for the Historical War Channel. Yeah, Roy Jones Jr., another great fighter. I was a big Hagler fan. That era of Ray Leonard, Hagler, and Tommy Hearns, the Hitman, all completely different types of fighters. I know, it's true, Morris. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So the next BDST pop, we're going to make it all movies entertainment. You're right. It was supposed to be other than sports, but it was all sports. But it was great because it was just natural the way it flowed. I thought about that too. And we've gotten some people go, hey, it's still a sports show. Great. The best thing it's going to be about the development of Big Dog Pop is there's no rules. We can just do whatever the hell we want. Funny, we were talking about this. I just showed my grandson yesterday where the old tennis courts were and the new pickleball courts. No one was playing on. Thanks, Razzle. Appreciate you. Yeah, American Tennis Star is not a thing. It's gone. See ya. And I don't think we have enough intrigue in terms of a golfing star. I don't know if there's any more. I think the problem is this. Now, because of what Al said, the corporate side of this thing, the athletes are just more worried about their own personal. And I guess it's always been the case, but even when you did the national sponsorships and guys were showing up everywhere, they understood it would have a national appeal and it would affect their sport. Now it's all about just trying to lock in your own personal deals, whether it's showing up in a golfing magazine or if you're doing a commercial during an event. There aren't any crossover stars in golf. Tiger Woods was the last one, and there may not ever be another one. That's true. When Elmo, Dwight, Chris Lester, too, he was great. Yeah, whatever the conversation flows to in Big Dog Pop, we're just going to let it flow. We don't care. We just don't care. It's great. It was great. It was fun. It's a lot of fun. Speaking about dying, what happened to pickleball? Yeah. We've already we researched it. Stupidest name ever. I mean, I wouldn't play it just because that's the name of the sport. Well, I'm sorry, of the activity.
Hey, man.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, Rick, you want to go grab the rackets and go play some pickleball?
You mean you play that on a tennis court, right?
Yeah, but it's really short. I mean, hang on now. Hang on. No, this isn't tennis. No. You stand a lot closer together on a smaller net.
But you're playing on a tennis court, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, why don't you just grab tennis rackets and play and hit tennis balls?
Why don't you shut the hell up? Right? No, 100%, T-Bird. I won't say I detest UFC, but that's not my thing. I don't like it either. I was a pugilist. I'm not an all extremity fighter fan, but I respect them. They're in shape. They're wonderful. They're talented. That's not me either. Wayne says pickleball is huge. Well, of course it is. Courts are full everywhere here in Rhode. Does Dave Matthews play pickleball? Here we are playing pickleball. Oh, my God. Let's put him back in the Hall of Fame. Did you hear Dave? Did you hear that pickleball riff? Let's put him in the Hall of Fame twice. Hey, by the way, don't be surprised if Virginia Tech announces an athletic director this week. Family Fencing, sponsor of our studio here in Reiner. 540-200-8294. Check them out at familyfencingnrv.com. Mark Hunley at 155 Walters Drive, McClellan Chiropractic. Go get your back popped in all the right ways. And don't forget this weekend at the Super Bowl, 540-382-5525. They're having their backpack donations. Everything's going to be given to the schools. Go by there, hang out, all the money. The lanes, there's a great deal on the lanes for 4. Food's going to be reduced. Go to the Super Bowl this weekend. Lawson's Mobile Home Supplies, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Give James a call, 540-381-8011. It's actually all sports for me, this says. Football doesn't have stars like the 90s. It's not the same. It's not. Wayne says, I miss the old HBO fights. Alex Aguelo and Aaron Pryor. Aaron Pryor was a good fighter, yeah. Pickleball, shut the hell up and get off my lawn. However, I have known a lot of seniors that love it. And that's great. The senior part of it is great. Let me clarify that. Yes, that's a great point, Morris. Do I guess what country's going to be the champion in World Cup? Ooh, that's a good question. I'd like to hope the U.S. can continue to advance. That's who I'm pulling for. Brazil? I don't know. England? Yes, for older folks that can get out and to cover as much ground, pickleball is awesome. I'm all for the activity. It's great. It's awesome. But I'm talking about the young people that are trying to like, hey, we're going to try to take this thing over. Watch out. Pickleball star. How about you just play some tennis? Sundown Electric, by the way, that's the Smith brothers down in Elliston. Long list of satisfied clients, superior craftsmanship, attention, detail, clear communications, honest, 5-star reviews, everything they do. Go see them. ReadySetFund.com, Bob Chris, BOBCRST 11 at Gmail. Find out how your group, your organization, team, school group can earn money within a week. Just a series of text messages. It's a great, great program. Travis Williams, Professional Door Incorporated, another business that's been just taken to new heights as he continues his dad's legacy and professional door, coming up on 40 years in business, sponsor of our text line that never, ever stops. National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of me and this program. It should be your exclusive banking partner. They made refinancing so easy. We're presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, thanks to Jonathan Sweet and to Tim Miller. The River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street, Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. Get your air units serviced today. And the BDST Fan Question of the Week brought to you by the attorney Ryan Price, 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Plan. And I think that's everyone. USA, I agree, Brandon. The senior part's great. Here we are, almost seniors. Brazil or England, except England. Let's make the fan question of the week. Who will be the World Cup winner? Yeah, we could do that. Let's do that. Who will win the World Cup in 2026? See there, Brandon? You're not just another pretty face. Trust me. Just kidding. Prometheus says UFC is my favorite sport. Cool, man. Yeah, I respect the hell out of it. I do. I think for me, it's not even a thing where I sit there and go, I don't like this. It's just I wasn't trained that way. So I don't vibe that way. But there's no question about the unbelievable skill and dedication and the physical condition of these folks. If we don't get rained out, I'm taking 2 of my grandkids to the fish hatchery, Dismal Falls, then to Walker Valley Amish store today. Well, we're going to miss you, T-Bird, but that again, you're spending your day with your grandkids, so you can always go back and rewatch. Brazil or Germany, Wayne says. Yeah, that seems to be, and I know that seems like, a broken record, but those are 2 of your world powers. Face for radio, Rick. That's what I've been told. We tried to get you on radio, Brandon, but that other guy said no. I love the Walker Valley store, Prometheus says. Coach Elmo and Todd Grantham, by the way, a little bit later on. I wonder if Coach Elmo played pickleball. To ask him. Check that out and find out. What's up, Mike, on the text line? The Super Bowl number is 382-5525, by the way. Give them a call, man. Check them out this weekend. Here we go. Let's get that up there. There you go. Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking. So anyway, going back to the original start of this whole thing, I had no idea the U.S. Open was going on until Friday late afternoon. I'm thinking, did I see this on X? Did I see this anywhere? And the answer is no, clearly, because even in sports that I don't necessarily follow, like I've been well aware of the World Cup. You can't help but be because it's a worldwide event, I guess. But you usually know when stuff's happening. This just was kind of there. And then I find out that this guy that everybody seems to hate won his second U.S. Open, and that became a bigger story than him winning the U.S. Open. Apparently, there was some post-win interview with Tirico who asked him directly about why everybody hates him. That's great. Tirico's the best on TV, so it doesn't surprise me. But I don't know. It's a good question. Good questions all the way around. The 2 American stars, well, there's 3. It goes back. Babe Ruth made baseball an international phenomenon. He did. But I think what Michael Jordan did with the NBA and basketball worldwide, and that's what people miss out when they're starting to look at, impact. If you don't understand what Michael Jordan meant and still means to why the NBA has flourished, well, Prometheus says, I'm not sure any tennis courts are left. They've turned them all into pickleball. Wayne says, I didn't even know what happened. I just don't watch much TV and not even on social media much. I only get my news from me. Well, thank you. I'll do better. I'll do better. And then Tiger Woods had that impact with golf. Oddly enough, Bo Jackson was probably one of the most marketable international American football stars, but he was also playing baseball. But the Bo nose commercials were a global phenomenon too. Andre Agassi was a global phenomenon. He was. We don't have that anymore. Tell me which NFL star that's been the biggest star in the league. Patrick Mahomes. He just does insurance commercials. Ric Flair is the global superstar. Oh, no question. By the way, I was sitting down watching, just flipping through, I don't know, last week, late night. Late night. And A&E was having the marathon with the WWE personalities, and I saw the one with Steve Austin again. Man, it's those things are so good. His development into Stone Cold. Did you know he got the name Stone Cold because I think it was his second wife at the time had fixed him some dinner, and he didn't necessarily come to the table, and she said, "Go get in here and eat." I don't know if it was soup or whatever it was, but that's going to become stone cold and you're not going to want to eat it. And he was like, he kept trying to come up with a gimmick because McMahon had liked his early response. He still had blonde hair then. And he went, "That's it." And she went, "What?" "That's the name, Stone Cold." And the rest, as they say, is history. And when he really got hurt, in the match against Owen Hart, when he thought he had split his spine, and yeah, those things are done really, really well. You don't have to be a mega fan of wrestling. I just love it, though. The character development, everything that goes into it. And his story is it's really cool. How close he is with Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock. They're like really good friends. They were the whole time. During that whole rivalry thing, the things that they would get together and come up with. It's good stuff, man. And I am a unapologetic, since I was little, wrestling fan. Figured out pretty early what was going on, but that's okay. It didn't matter. Hulk Hogan. I can't disagree with you, Prometheus. Pop culture phenomenon. Worldwide, Hulk Hogan. 100%. 100%. He was just kind of getting started when all of a sudden he shows up in Rocky 3. Because Stone Cold said so. Yeah, you do, Wayne, when you do. And you know what gets them? Well, thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Please stop by anytime. I hope you stay subscribed. They take a lot of synthetics to get through the long road trips, the back-to-back nights, having to go through how the match is going to go and make sure you don't. I think the fact that they work so hard not to hurt each other, it's just amazing to me. It intrigues me a lot. Thunderlips. But he was, yeah, I can't really do that. That guy is our new subscriber. Thank you. But yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Morris says, maybe I can start a petition where only old people can enter a pickleball court. Maybe have one alternate and separate court where young people can play, but it's served Panera bread bricks. That would break the spirit of the young pickleball player. If you lose, you're going to have to eat some Panera. And go ahead and make an appointment at your dental office. Dave Matthews music playing. Babe Ruth, Ali, Jordan, Woods, Earnhardt, Hogan. Yeah. There's no doubt the impact of Hulk Hogan in wrestling. No doubt. Boogeyman used to talk about that all the time. When we had the wrestling show during the summers on the radio show, the first run of the radio show, he would talk about, we've had big names and we've had stars, and he talked about the international flavor, but Hulk Hogan was, that wasn't the same. And that's what I'm saying. Babe Ruth, not the same. Muhammad Ali, not the same. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Dale Earnhardt. Of all the things that kind of makes me a little sad about, golf, I've never been much of a thing. Tennis and the NASCAR decline, because it is pure Americana, man. And it's been so mismanaged. And to me, it's unwatchable. It's just unwatchable. Stopping the race in 60 lap sections or whatever. That's not what it's supposed to be. Wayne says, I was such a Reggie Jackson fan. I learned his left-handed swing, and I'm right-handed. Even hit a home run left-handed in Little League. That's cool. I don't know if you know this or not, Wayne, but I met Reggie Jackson, and not only got to call 4 innings with him, I saw him naked. By the way, he's a great guy, Reggie Jackson, Wayne. Great guy. Got the pictures taken. The funniest part of all that is Betsy Hall, who was the GM, great at her job. Betsy, I hope she's doing well. She's gotten into soccer. She's like in one of the soccer leagues now. But anyway, I remember her walking up before the game. I'm getting set up. And, hey, yeah. Reggie Jackson was wanting me to ask you if you minded he would come up here and call some of the game with you. Hey, Rick. Yeah. Selma Hayek's in town, and she's staying at the Ritz Hotel. She says that she talked to your new wife, and she said it was okay. She wants you to come spend the weekend with her. Is that something you might be interested in doing? I don't know. Let me think about it. Gee, Betsy, does Reggie Jackson wants to come on the air? Let me get back to you. Yes. Yes. It is unwatchable. Pre-race is silly and the race is torture. Yeah, it's just stupid. The stages are stupid. People can try to defend it all they want to. But the whole point of showing up at a track on a Sunday, you knew you're going to be there for 4 or 5 hours, and it was getting through the whole race from the start to the bottom to the end. Can you adjust your car? Can you stay out of trouble? Strategy was such a mega part of it. The endurance. Who's going to win the race? Now, hey, man, we weren't great that first stage, so we basically took the car apart. You can lose and be terrible, or you can win the first 2 stages. Then you don't win the last one, and yet that person gets credited with winning the race when really all they've done is win the last stage. I'm surprised there's not been a bigger fan revolt. But then again, when you see the attendance at tracks or lack thereof, and you see the ratings decline, the battle of the network stars. Oh, those were great. Yeah, absolutely. Howard Cosell was so good. Reggie Jackson, by the way, did a lot of he was like the guy that they'd cut to Reggie, and he was announcing on those too. He was great. We talked more about Reggie's acting career in the Naked Gun movie than we did. Well, we'll say more, but we did cover that. Because we got so comfortable. I looked over at him at the start of the fourth inning when we came back. I said, by the way, man, what did you have against the Queen? And the thing that was great about Reggie, he knew exactly what I was doing. He didn't ask me what I was talking about. He went, Rick, you know I was under mind control, right? You understand that wasn't really me. It's just so good. So good. I know those of you that are impressed that I called innings with Reggie, but I think more of you are more impressed that he just comes out and drops the towel. Hey, I'm one of the guys now. What's up, Gabstar? Yeah, Bruce Jenner, no doubt, Wayne, no doubt. Bruce Jenner was a massive star. On the Wheaties box. Paretha says when Hogan died, I was devastated. I hate to think of the day Jordan passes. Yeah, the icons are fading away, aren't they? They're just fading away. You know, we have great athletes today. We have great players in the NFL, NBA, all those folks. But none of them, I mean, Victor Wembanyama is not going to be anything close to Michael Jordan. Even a LeBron, whatever category you want to put him in. There's no NASCAR driver that's ever going to approach Dale Earnhardt. The only one who was on his way was Jeff Gordon. But he found himself losing interest the years after Dale was gone. That was they were great. They were business partners off the track. They hid that because the rivalry part of it was so good. And Dale Earnhardt had more respect for Jeff Gordon than he did any other driver on the circuit. They tried to pass the mantle to Junior, but he doesn't have that. He doesn't have it. He didn't have it. Didn't have the same personality, didn't have the same skill. It didn't transfer over. He even had an inherited fan base, right? He got all of his dad's fan base, but it just didn't mesh. And I think that pressure probably it had to weigh on him because he was never nearly as talented or gifted behind the wheel either as his dad in any way, shape, or form. I mean, who's the greatest right now? Who's the greatest American baseball star? Mike Trout's been hurt so much. He was on a historic path, but he can't stay healthy. Who's the greatest American baseball star today? I'm saying American. We know it's Shohei Ohtani. But who is it? Who can you? Aaron Judge? There you go, Wayne. But even do you hear about him at all? I mean, he's playing for the most recognized franchise and maybe along with the Dallas Cowboys in American sport history. What kind of a year is he having, by the way? I don't even know. I've gotten baseball is, they're going to not be here next year. So it's hard for me to care. He's got 17 home runs, 38 runs batted in. I mean, that's good, clearly. Coming off years of 58 and 53 home runs. But it's Aaron Judge, I guess, right? But does he have a worldwide feel? Oh, he's hurt now? Well, there you go. There's nobody else. There's certainly nobody in NASCAR and nobody in tennis and golf. It's just not there anymore. So, but a good discussion, fun discussion here this morning. Todd Grantham a little bit later on. Right now, it's Coach Elmo. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Rick, good morning.
Coach, who's the greatest American sports star ever?
Oh, damn. It's too early in the morning, Rick. Professor Watson.
I don't know. We were just talking about it.
Greatest sports star ever. God. There's too many to name.
I know.
Besides Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. You go back, Jesse O. I'm thinking about the folks who just marked time, Jackie Robinson, whoever it might be. Yeah, there are some. We just don't have them today. We don't have that today, do we? It doesn't feel like
what I do know, though. Think about this, Rick. For all those people that are my age or maybe a little less younger, but, the two athletes that really were iconic and changed sport in terms of outside the stadium were Muhammad Ali and Joe Namath.
Yep.
I mean, those two personalities literally affected sports like the Beatles did in music.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Back in the 60s. And that's fact. I know for me, it had when Joe Namath was playing in Alabama in the mid 60s, and college football started to be televised. And, that was when I said, I'm going south to play football because that's where football was, king. And with Alabama winning national championships and his story coming from Pennsylvania, he was going to Maryland. He wanted, and they couldn't get him in because of the SAT rules back in the ACC. And the ACC voted in an 800 SAT rule back in the 60s. And that's why South Carolina got out. And they did it to keep the black athlete out of the conference. Literally. That was one of the underlying hidden reasons.
Ridiculous. That crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so Joe Namath was going to Maryland, but he had a poor SAT score. So they did not want to play against him. So the head coach called Bear Bryant. And that's how he got to Alabama.
What was the secret about Namath's draw? What was it about his appeal? Now, he had a good personality. He had the looks, I guess. Is that what it was? And then going to New York where they were starving for the –
He was a great athlete. He was a great baseball player, great basketball player, football player. You really look at he and Marino in terms of how they threw the football and how they used their body. It's not even duplicated in terms of how the technique of throwing the football and the use of his lower body and compensating for his bad knees. But he hit the social scene. He's in New York, and wasn't drafted by Green Bay. I mean, he's in New York. And he was, in his early 20s, and he embraced New York and all the social scene and was able to still produce on the football field. He was able to, in his career, probably shorten his career, but he was able to hit the streets and at the same time hit the field and win. And that was the bottom line, and when he guaranteed the Super Bowl win over the Colts, basically he was sticking up for his team. That wasn't a selfish thing.
That's right. That's right. People lose that. That's exactly right.
He was trying to say, hey, we have a good football team. And they did, but the Colts at that time, Don Shula, Bubba Smith, Mike Curtis, I mean, they had some, Earl Merle was, we're going back, but those two gentlemen, I think Muhammad Ali and I don't know if the impact of sport beyond the sports, I think would have made a huge difference in terms of how you viewed sports and the people they brought into the sports. Even women loved football when Namath was playing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Think about it. It was like I said, when it was like the Beatles coming to town. When he went into town. So that's what I think from that perspective. Those two guys.
And we haven't really had that in the NFL since, have we? Maybe Joe Montana.
You're not going to anymore. No, you're not going to anymore. Too many, the social media and everything else. It's actually frowned upon to have the kind of outgoing personality and lifestyle outside of the football field. And then you look at the players now. You look at them today. The average lifespan of an NFL player is 3 years. That's the average of all NFL players.
True.
Well, these guys back in the 60s, if you had a 10-year career, 10 to 12-year career, you had a great career. Now these guys are playing into their late 30s. Look at Jim Brown. Yeah, that's another. That's another icon.
Oh, Jim no Brown. Doubt. Yeah.
He was an A student at Syracuse. I met him at Syracuse.
Yeah, I got to meet him one time. Yeah.
How imposing is he?
I saw him at the Hall of Fame. He came out back in 2004, Coach. Because I went there, we did the show, the old radio show, because John Elway got inducted that year with Barry Sanders. I wasn't going to miss Elway's induction, and we're packing up. And I look back, and he walks out of the Hall of Fame and the main entrance there, just because he always went. And I said, I got to go try to say hi. This is the guy I've heard about my whole life from my dad, and he was very gracious. One of those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
And when he shook your hand, he kept your handshake the whole time he talked to you. He never let go of my hand. He just sitting there and looking at me, engaged, told me where I was from, what I did. I said, look, I just wanted to say hello. It's an honor, Mr. Brown. Like that. And he said, thank you so much and all that. So give my best to your dad.
Coaching at Syracuse back at 91, 92, my 2 years there. In the spring, they had a dais of all former athletes from all sports come back. It was like an assembly in the old basketball arena for all the college athletes. And it was open to the students, but for most of it was for the college athletes, men's and women's. And people like Dave Bing would come back. Jim Brown came back. John Mackey was there. It was a who's who. Anybody and everybody that played a sport at Syracuse, which was like phenomenal. And it was so impressive. And then Paul Pasqualoni had Jim Brown speak to the football team, and of course, as coaches, we got to meet him. And he was a great lacrosse player. He's from
yes, he was. He says that was his best sport.
That was his favorite sport.
Yep.
Yeah, he loved lacrosse. Long Island, the tradition of lacrosse in Long Island is phenomenal. I think it's still today, but back 50s, 60s, 70s. And so he loved lacrosse. He was a great student at Syracuse. And he was a 9-year football player, 10-year football player, and said, and he quit.
Going to make movies. Going to go to Hollywood. Let's go to Hollywood.
It was he didn't try to string it all out. And he was at his prime when he left. I should say quit, when he left the game. And you look at today how the players and the athletes take care of their bodies. You were talking about Tiger Woods. I'm not a golf fan while I was coaching. I turned into a golf fan watching it now because I love watching the intrigue and how these guys handle, when they make some bad shots, how they can recover from it and overcome. Yes. They're down 4 or 5 points and hang in there, and then the last 7 or 8 holes, they come back to win that thing. I mean, that's phenomenal that's mental anguish from a fan perspective, But my buddy always told me about Tiger Woods. You think about all the golfers back in the day, maybe outside of Nicklaus and those guys, but most of them, they're coming out of the bars with hangovers going out to play. They never really took care of themselves.
That's true.
Tiger Woods revolutionized the game where he lifted weights, he trained with this Navy SEAL guy or whatever, from what we heard. And apparently that training, I guess, I don't know if you can overdo training, but it's just a shame what happened to his off-field decisions, because you never know what would have happened with the golf. But he changed the game of golf in terms of his physical stature and how he took care of his body. And you look at the Bradys today and these guys that are literally taking care of themselves and playing well beyond the years. So that's a big, huge difference as I see it today. And that's in all sports. I mean, you look at LeBron, like him, don't like him, greatest, not greatest, don't care. He's in his 40s playing basketball, running up and down those courts, and how many ever games they play in a season. That to me blows my mind. Blows my mind. The physical, the discipline you have to have in your off season is. I didn't do it. Hey, I did my best coaching hungover in the bowls when we go to the bowls. I'd walk into we were in a bowl game, and it was so much fun. I'd walk into a meeting, boys, coach is hungover today. Don't screw with me. I better have a great practice. They would laugh their ass off.
Does it surprise you with all the advancements in training and everything that you mentioned the career? A lot of it's injury related. A lot of it, I guess, is competition related. But you're right. The average NFL career is just the 3 years.
3 years.
What's happened there? What do you? What's happened there? Do you think in the NFL particularly?
It's always been that. It's been that way for the last 10, 20, whatever it is. Whenever those studies came out, it's not changed. Maybe it's gone to 3.5 now, or maybe 4 years. But that was, dude. We'd walk into a home in recruiting, and kids have these NFL aspirations, and there's only like 1% or 2% of all college athletes make it. Don't forget, there's only 32 teams. You talk about a rare opportunity and a competitive job. You got a roster, Todd can tell you, I don't know the number, 50, 55, 52 players, whatever that is, divided by 32. That's it. That's the only jobs available. Now you got these developmental programs. Rosters that you can keep for your scout team type deals, but college football is the farm team, period. And so it is. It's not a you talk about the percentage of making it is so minimal. The percentage of sticking it out for 10 to 12 years is very minimal. If you get a 4-year career or a 5 or 6 year career, you've had a career.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Great career, And when you're looking at some of these guys playing 15, 18 years or whatever, that percentage is so low. It's ridiculous. The only thing is that's all you hear about. That's all you hear about. It's such a physical, violent game. It's a violent game. If you ever get the chance to go to an NFL practice, people in the day, people say, "Oh, NFL players, they get paid. They don't practice that hard." Bull. I'll tell you, you go to an NFL practice, it is like it blows your mind. The speed of that game, the violence in the practice, and they're not going live. But as far as the lines of scrimmage is concerned,
right?
Wow, it's a wow moment. And the professionalism, it's their job, and they got to get good at their craft. And if you don't prepare, you are not going to last. The NFL, not for long, as it stands for.
Right.
Playing and coaching.
Which is why the quarterback position is so valued, because it's got to it is by far the toughest position at that level in the NFL to try to be consistent. That's why you see some of these numbers Brady and these other guys put out Mahomes, and you're just like, wow. How, given how tough that league is.
The thing is now they should put asterisks on these quarterbacks. When you go back and you look at the Marinos and the Montanas and go all the way back to the 60s, you talk about a beating. You talk about a beating. I got this one picture I've always kept. It was one of my favorite football. Well, let me get it and I'll show it to you. What the quarterbacks used to look like.
Okay. Coach going to get out some he's getting a visual prop here. This is good. By the way, that poster over your left shoulder, that's Y.A. Tittle. I know that picture.
Remember that? The cover of Life magazine.
Yeah, he's bloody.
That was the cover of Life magazine. This is what playing quarterback in the NFL used to be. If you ever showed this picture to Roger Goodell, he'd start crying.
Hey, is that Coach Norton over your left shoulder, by the way?
It is, yes. I got that. I was at that golf outing about 3 weeks ago. Big fundraiser that Ferrum has. A lot of the players come back. A lot of players that I coached back in the early 80s are there. And they had a silent auction. And I make my contribution at that time. I give my check to Bobby James, who's been at the Ferrum forever, since 1979 as a student. He's part of the football recruiting and coaching staff. I gave him a check, and I saw that picture. I said, Bobby, I just wrote you a pretty good check. I said, now listen, if you can make money off that picture, go ahead and make money off the picture. But if you don't have enough, if you didn't get a certain amount, I want that picture. And the coaching staff, the head football coach, gave me the picture.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Matter of fact, it was sad, Rick. Sad day, sad week for Ferrum football. I think I mentioned this to you. There was a former player at Ferrum named Rock Perdoni. Renzo Rock Perdoni. He Italian, right off the boat, Rick. He's first generation. Dad couldn't speak Italian. The kids couldn't speak English. Couldn't speak English. And when he was 6 years old, he came over and went to my high school. We had a lot of it. The Italo Italian club in my town was huge. And he ended up going to. He was one of three people in my high school. I was one of three, and he was one of three of that went to Ferrum out of my high school in Massachusetts, all the way down to Ferrum Junior College in Virginia. And we all got there because of the custodian. Literally, the custodian was the gentleman that got in touch with Coach Norton for all three of us. It's another show, Rick. But so he goes down to Ferrum. He's 5'10 and a half, 11, about 225 pounds. And at Ferrum, all of a sudden, they work you so hard. He actually ended up playing at about 210, 215 as a 3 technique, inside defensive lineman. His sophomore year, he was National Junior College Player of the Year. He ended up in the 68 we won the national championship, the 68 team. There were a gentleman named Tommy Brown was his best friend, and Georgia Tech recruited him and offered him a scholarship to Georgia Tech. But he wanted to go to Marshall because all his buddies, Rick Tolley had coached at Ferrum, and Rick, when Rock was there, but then whatever, that's another story. But with Rick Tolley, the head coach of Marshall, he signed 6 Ferrum kids, 3 of them off the 68 national championship team. And that's where Rock wanted to go. He wanted to go with his buddies. They were really close-knit football team. And, of course, you know the story. I mean, the Marshall plane crash went down, and that saved his life. That players told Rock, don't you go to Georgia Tech because they're playing Notre Dame, Southern Cal. Georgia Tech was an independent. They're going to be on national TV. And he said, hey, Rock, you go represent us. You go to the big time. Don't come here. Go to Georgia Tech. Well, they were on the quarter system, Rick, and this is the kind of personality / toughness this kid had. He goes to Georgia Tech in March because they're on the quarter system. He gets there 1 week and they're in the spring ball. After spring ball, 20 days, they elected him captain. How about that?
Wow.
I mean, I think about that, Rick. You're there for 30 days.
And you're captain? Yeah.
And you're the captain?
How does that happen?
Bud Carson was the head football coach. And they ended up having, by the time his senior year, he has a great year. 1970 is a consensus All-American. He's only 5'11", 5'10 and a half, 240 pounds. But against Notre Dame, they lost to Notre Dame in South Bend 10-7, and he sacked Joe Theismann about 3 or 4 times. They went out to Southern Cal and gave them a hell of a game. These are national TV games. Well, he's on the Bob Hope All-America show. This is the first year of the Lombardi Award. The very first year they initiated Lombardi. He came in second behind a guy named Jim Stillwagon at Ohio State in the Lombardi Award. He's the most decorated player in the history of Georgia Tech football, in all the history of Georgia Tech football. The most decorated player. He's a living legend. And he passed away last week. And I got a text from a lot of guys that we still stay in touch. That it was a really sad day for Ferrum football and Georgia Tech football for that matter. And you talk about a leader. And now listen, if you ever got in a fight with this guy, bring a gun.
You need an edge, right?
I'm serious. The day is long. The most gentlest human being you'll ever want to meet, but do not piss this guy off. Do not. I grew up with him. We were high school teammates. And that's how I got down to Ferrum. I followed him down to Ferrum. But he was a great, great player. It was a really sad day for Ferrum football. And I don't know what the arrangements are going to be. After I got back from Madison on the celebration of life, I told Jared, I go, I'm not going anymore. I can't, selfishly, I
get it.
This anymore. But
no, I get it.
Now, a guy named Rock Badoni died, and I tell you, he was Coach Norton's number one favorite player. Make no mistake about it.
Makes sense after hearing the story. I understand.
Yeah. He got a guy named Adams. The stadium at Ferrum is called Adams Stadium, Adams Field, Adams Stadium. He was a big construction guy in Roanoke back in the 60s, 70s. Adams Construction. He was a big Georgia Tech guy. And that's how Rock got down there. And then there was another player from my high school back before Rock, back in 65, 66, named Lou Sanaspago, another good Italian. So you had two Italians, one Armenian. It was like the UN going down to Ferrum, for God's sakes.
I love the names. The names are great.
Yeah, here we are. Two Italian kids and one Armenian kid going down to Ferrum Junior College in Southwest Virginia. We're coming from from concrete to the mountains, baby. It was, oh my God, it was a culture shock.
I was going to ask you about, when you talk about fan base, I had Matthew ask me a question. Ask Coach, you've been in different spots in college. I don't want to say a best fan base, but who was the most passionate fan base of all the stops that you were?
I was fortunate that there's no number one. Nebraska they're really passionate about their football because it's the only, there's no pro sports. It's University of Nebraska.
Just Nebraska, yeah.
Anytime you have the flagship university and there's only one in the state like Wisconsin, Nebraska, LSU, those fan base, and there's no pro sports influence, those fan bases become rabid. Literally rabid. It's a good news, bad news.
Yeah.
The good news is they care. The bad news is they really care.
They care maybe a little too much. Yeah.
We lost at Nebraska. We had to get police escorts to our car after a game, and that's fact. It was so I think any one of those schools, LSU, Wisconsin, Nebraska, was it was unbelievable. Washington was another place.
Really?
They sold, at that time when I was there, they sold 67,000 season tickets. Season tickets.
Wow.
67,000. Sold out all the time. Sold out. And that was another place. It was great. Wow. That was one of the first times I was on the field. I've been in the press box my whole life. I get there. I ran on that football field. We're playing Southern. You think about Southern Cal in Washington. I mean, this is history, So I ran out of that tunnel. I ran back in the tunnel, ran out again. It was so exciting.
You wanted to do it twice.
Yeah, I did it twice. What the hell? You know, but that, yeah, those places probably of all the places I've been that were, you know, Syracuse was really kind of cool because at that time the Dome really had it going on. You know, they sold 27,000 season tickets for basketball, and the Dome was sold out for football. And back then, Jay Crowdamo, this is back in the early 90s, they were selling beer in the Dome back in 91, 92.
Really? In the early 90s? Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember the loophole with the old Carrier Dome. And the Carrier Dome was kind of crazy. It had no air conditioning. You'd walk in there, it's like 70 degrees. It's really cool. By the end of the first quarter, it's 90 degrees with all the and we've seen teams. I remember Florida came in there. The teams have come in there, Texas, Florida. They've come in there, Vanderbilt, and they've come in there and have died in the second half. Playing in the domes is way more. You got to start hydrating on Sunday if you're going to play in the dome Saturday. You will get dehydrated faster than any other sports arena.
Well, Coach Beamer knows,
right? If you're at Miami, playing the University of Miami in the old Orange Bowl, when you play in a dome, you can get so dehydrated so fast, and that's fact.
Playing Coach Beamer, fun. Yeah. Tech had so many problems there, right? When Coach Beamer had it rolling, that was, you know.
We brought a team up there. We're undefeated. We're ranked 12th in the country, and I coached up there. We had Florida 21-0 going into the first quarter. We're kicking their ass. We had Texas kick their ass. I've seen Nebraska go in there with a #1 team back in the late 80s and got their ass kicked. So I knew it. I knew what I was going to do. And I did it was one of my poorest coaching jobs among many that I have done. We got beat I was 24 something and never should have lost that. We were the better football team. This was the 94 year. We were undefeated 12th in the country, highest ranking Virginia Tech ever had in the history of the program. And we went up there and lost. And, which, people have done. It's a hard place to play and a hard place to win. It was back in the day. So, but those were the fan bases that were pretty rabid.
Yeah, you helped bring the Tech fan base. They weren't really there yet, like we know them now, right?
We couldn't give the tickets away.
Yeah.
Average 35,000, probably about 6,000 season tickets. Dave will tell you, we need to have Coach Brain on. You need to.
I know.
I'll text you his number again, but he wants to come on. And I think it'd be fascinating.
Yeah, we'll get him on your show. Yeah, we got to do that.
You talk about just more so for the Tech fan base to appreciate where they're at, especially now, to really appreciate. Because let me tell you, back in 1992, 93, 94, and Dave was integral in getting them in the Big East. That's another thing people don't understand. It was an independent.
That's right.
The Big East Conference, there'd be no Sugar Bowl. If they were not in the Big East Conference, there's no Sugar Bowl in 95. There's no Gator Bowl for us in 94. And there's no Independence Bowl in 93. Even though we'd won 9 games. Coach Dooley, what people don't appreciate, Bill Dooley had enough credibility with TV people as an independent, and he gets them to the Peach Bowl, played against Kelly, the quarterback. They lost the game, and he went to an Independence Bowl, and then he gets us back he got Virginia Tech on national TV, something that was hard to do back then as an independent. He was able to pull that off because of his credibility as a head football coach at that time and athletic director. And he ended up getting us in the Peach Bowl. And we had won 9 games that year, 10 because Temple forfeited. But he got us in the Peach Bowl. And so, another notch in Dave Brain's belt is navigating, getting into the Big East. That was another accomplishment was, besides Frank Beamer's decision, administratively navigating Virginia Tech from an independent
to the Big East. Yeah.
Which now, TV because the Big East, initially the Big East television got into 33% of the homes in the country because you had the New York market, you had
Yeah.
Miami, New York.
That's right.
A deal. It was one of the very first conference television deals for Big East football, televised the games. Pitt, everybody else. And it was a great conference. Miami was winning a national championship. West Virginia was undefeated. Syracuse we had great teams at Syracuse. And all of a sudden, Virginia Tech, we got able to jump it. We got jumped into that upper echelon. We and Frank Beeman. Then next thing you know, it's Big East, then out of the ACC. Holy crap! You talk about infantile stages of your program.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless it was Virginia or West Virginia, we never sold it. Never. Now it was still a rabid fan base, but it wasn't as huge as it is today.
Yeah.
The money's unbelievable. It's funny, Rick. I just got through listening to. Your program, I think, has more credibility than a lot of them I would even begin to listen to. But unless it's a president of a university or a head football coach or an athletic director, and I will not formulate any opinion, but I'll listen to those guys on these podcasts. Well, the president, this is unusual. The president of the University of Miami, I don't know, I just came across it. Talk about alignments, the future alignments of college football. And they got my attention. But it was the president of the University of Miami, the president, not the head football coach, not some journalistic podcaster. There's the president of the University of Miami. So I got to listen to this. Especially with this president, what's he saying? And he was very direct. Like I said, I go to class with my notebook. So I started writing this stuff down. And I thought this was fascinating. He said, everybody is geared on winning. They're winning for the next expansion. Okay, he made this comment. This was his statement. We're playing for the next contract.
That's right.
TV contract. And I thought that was fascinating because it was so truthful. Because right now, the University of Miami, we're in the ACC. It's all political. Hey, great conference, love being here.
Yeah,
However, but here's what he did. It was a but. But we are playing for the next contract.
I love that transparency.
It's supposed to run through 2036, according to him. They ain't gonna make it. They're not going to make it. But I thought that was fascinating. And then he said the next cycle of TV contracts are going to start between 2030 and 2035. Because I think he said something like the SEC and the Big Ten TV contracts end about 2030, 31. The ACC's through 36, which is just, you talk about ridiculous.
Yeah, that never made any sense.
As dumb could be. And they get them on the cheap, So, but he did say, he goes, realignment's going to happen in 2030. 2030 and beyond, there's going to be another big realignment because this is when the TV contracts are up for negotiations. And he said this. I thought this. He goes, he said this too, and I'm going to read my notes, Rick, because I too much bull in a ring at fair. Like I said, I can't remember. I got my William Mary degree because of great memorization. I was able to memorize things, but I just haven't had enough time to study this. But he said, he asked the question, which programs in this country are invested in winning a national championship? Not going to a bowl, not having a winning season, not winning a conference championship. Think about it, Rick. Which programs in the ACC, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12 are investing to win a national championship? With, think about NIL and the arms race. Think about, okay, which ACC teams are investing in winning the national championship?
Miami. Tech's trying to get there. Tech's trying to develop into that.
Well,
Florida State used to be. Yeah.
Remember what I mentioned this to you, and I mentioned it to Greg Roberts. As soon as they came out and Witt came out with this announcement, that was a message to the other conferences. Hey, they're raising their hand. We're in. Pick me. We're in. We got it. You know, give me a chair at this high stakes poker table. I got the money. I can get in. That's, to me, that was I really believe that was the underlying factor of having this big press conference on, you know, how much money they need and how much money they get. Then they get the $75 million. That's a big deal. And that's great. You know, that's great. But so they're trying. But then you got Clemson, you know. But you think about it,
Clemson,
Florida State, and Florida State's failing miserably because if they are invested on winning the national championship, that's the biggest failure in college football.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right behind them. Now, Miami capitalized on it last year. They got credibility back because they played in it. So they could say, hey, we're invested in winning a national championship. How would you say that? Well, we played the game last year. And Clemson and Florida State weren't even in the dance. And Virginia Tech, they're so far off, it's not even close. So you still look at, you're going, okay, if there's any one team that's Miami out of the ACC, the others, that they say they are, they think they are, but they haven't. Then you look at the SEC, okay? I don't know if you'd agree with me or not. I wrote down the teams I think are invested on winning the national championship because they have. Georgia, Alabama, Florida, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, and A&M. You know, the rest of it, Vandy's not invested to win a national championship. Kentucky's not. You know, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, they're not. Ole Miss likes to think they are, but they're not.
But they're not, yeah.
Okay. And then the other ACC school is probably as quietly as any of them is SMU.
Yeah, they are. They're invested. They are.
They're invested. They just, you don't hear about it. They're so, you know, and then you look at the Big Ten, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio State, Southern Cal, Penn State. And I still question Penn State and Southern Cal. They ain't come close. You know. So it's interesting. He brought
Southern
that
Cal's
up.
not anymore,
Yeah. That's the president of
that
the university making those statements about realignment is going to happen in 5 years. And everybody, you think about it now. Look at Florida State. Look at Clemson. Look at Miami, and even Virginia Tech right now. For me, Virginia Tech, they're banging the realignment drum. They're starting to. Hey, we've got the money.
They are.
Yeah. In the SEC or the Big 12 or the Big, you know, because of the TV and the contracts. And as you well know, college football compared to the NBA TV contract, it's going to be, especially if they go to 24, it's going to be unbelievable. The money's going to be unbelievable. And go ahead.
I was going to say, does that time frame, Coach, that you heard him talk about, does that make you think that all this is hot air when you have the SEC and the Big Ten talking about this breaking away now here in the next year or two? Are they just bluffing, or do you think that can happen?
I couldn't tell you, Rick. Who knows? Could be saber rattling. But, you know, they're talking about, you know, because the NCAA's got no power. They got no teeth.
No.
And so, but I thought it was real interesting how he talked about.
I like the honesty. The honesty's nice, isn't it? That's great.
Very,
I like that.
Oh, he was definitely. It was fascinating. I listened to the whole thing, and it was asked questions, and he talked, and he said, "No, we're playing for realignment," and he asked the question, which schools are investing to winning a national championship? Because those are the schools that'll be left standing.
And if you're left out, you're done.
Of course, Duke, NC State, no way.
Carolina will be in. Carolina will be in because of their brand too. They'll be in somewhere.
didn't think so, but here's the deal, Rick. Like he said, I remember when I was at UMass, and we were in the MAC, and I can't remember how this goes. I'm trying to remember how this goes. There was a deal where it was us and Temple that were going to try to get into, I think, Conference USA. Okay, because the MAC, the only sport they had in there was just football at UMass. None of the other sports were involved in the MAC as far as UMass athletics. So they were trying to get into Conference USA. And you know what would determine it between us and Temple, we're the better football team. We only won one game. Temple had, I think Al Golden was the head coach at that time. They had one of those 8-win seasons. So next thing you know, Temple gets in.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, you can talk about Carolina all you want, an expansion. If they're winning 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, who's going to take them?
Well, you're right. It's the same thing. It's about winning the right amount at the right time, which is why the James Franklin hire is so big for Tech leading into this next thing, right? So
without a doubt. Now you got the money. Now you got to get the coach. And you look at a guy like Todd Grantham, who I'm still fascinated by how, with his NFL experiences, go get some 3rd rounders, 4th round kids, because that's all the money you got. But hopefully, if he goes out, if Coach Grantham can turn that thing around and win 8 and 9 games, you hold on to your ass now, because you're taking 4th round guys and turning them into 1st round. They'll end up being, 1st round productivity. And that's the key today. Look at Florida State. If they have the money, which you think they do.
You think, right?
They failed consistently since the 13th season. Because of what? The quarterback, more than anything else.
Because of the quarterback, yeah.
Fascinating take on college football. He was very forthright. The contracts are up 2030, 31, especially the Big Ten SEC. It's all going to be renegotiated. And for these next 4 years, it's going to be a fist fight, especially the ACC teams. Okay? Florida State, Clemson, Miami. I throw Virginia Tech in there now because they're in the high-stakes poker game.
Yeah.
And I've always believed this, Rick. I'm probably 100% wrong, but it's the one thing that I would be 100% wrong. I'd still write a check on just for the fun of it to bet on it. UVA, if they continue to win, will be in the Big Ten in the next 5 years.
I agree with you 100%.
That's me. I'm not going to tell you, Virginia Tech, Big 12, SEC. Here's what I do know. I haven't been in that conference. Why they took Rutgers and Maryland was beyond me. That's probably something they're shaking their heads on, especially Rutgers.
Yeah, all for TV markets that haven't worked out for them.
And I'll do respects to Rutgers, but listen, there's a big difference between Mr. Jefferson's University and Rutgers University. Okay, and guess what? The Big Ten haven't been in that conference. You think Michigan people? They got a Harvard degree. They love that academic.
They do. Yep, absolutely. They talk about it all the time.
Ivy League in the Midwest, in their minds. Trust me. And so that's why they will take Virginia way over. And I may be wrong. I don't know. But
no, I think you're exactly right. That connection's been there for a long time. The academic, that has been.
It has. And so there's going to be realignment. Don't be surprised if Rutgers gets booted. Realignment doesn't mean just additions. People will get deleted. Yeah, what can you bring to the conference? Just like the ACC. What a joke. Who's enhancing who? When they brought Cal and Stanford in, who enhanced who? What enhancement did they bring to the ACC?
It's so dumb.
Tell me. Academics? I got to go all the way out there for academic enhancement. Are you kidding me?
I know, right? Right? Yeah.
I got to go to the West
It's never made
Coast
sense from day one. It's never been
one school that every when I was at Washington, the one school that everybody hated in the Pac-10 was Stanford, because that was their crap never stunk, and all of a sudden they're setting all the rules for the conference. They're sitting at the head of the table of conference, Stanford, and Washington's won national championships or been to the Rose Bowl way more than they have. It was ugly. Trust me, my Pac-10 experience, it was ugly.
Do you think Vanderbilt and Rutgers are like two of the most candidates that could be erased? Vanderbilt doesn't have the draw of academics, and academics don't seem to matter much anymore. So that's always been their thing. Like they were the academic strong suit of the SEC. But Rutgers just announced all that debt. So Rutgers seems like a surefire candidate to be eliminated.
They'll get tossed. They'll get tossed, I think. I think, what they should do, what they won't do. I think and the president of the university still think the conferences will still remain as is. They're just going to expand, or I think they're going to delete and expand. Okay. Now, I don't know how he could say that about the ACC, because if Florida State, Miami, Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Clemson, particularly, those 5 schools, any 2 out of those 5 get out, who are you bringing in?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, who are you bringing in that's going to, like I said, who's enhancing who? All of a sudden, the ACC, they're enhancing Stanford and Cal. They saved their programs. As a conference commissioner, you got to ask yourself, okay, look at the SEC. We're bringing Texas and Oklahoma into the SEC.
No, right. Yeah.
Come on now. That's my point. Cal, Stanford, Oklahoma, Texas. Who's enhancing who?
Yeah. Little apples and oranges, right?
Yeah. So, it's called desperation. And then they bring SMU in because SMU says, hey, we don't need your money. We don't care. We don't need a cut or anything. Or,
SMU was, yeah. They're going to buy their way in somewhere, right? The SMU was going to end up somewhere, right?
They're quietly may have more money than anybody in the ACC, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right now. Yeah.
He's worried about those guys you don't hear, like UVA. You're always worried about those guys you don't hear about a lot. You don't hear a whole lot. Just they quietly go about their business.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Prometheus. Maryland seems like those 2 you mentioned seem like now the Big Ten would go in the next expansion. Yeah, we made a miscalculation on your TV market. See you, Rutgers. See you, Maryland. Maryland
for
and
sure.
Rutgers. Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind, Rutgers for sure. And then you look at the ACC. Wake. Here's the one thing that's really interesting, Rick. Having coached in the Big Ten, the one stadium that was, all of a sudden around at Wisconsin, we're bringing way more fans than they got, is Northwestern. But Iowa, the first year Kirk Ferentz was at Iowa, he won 1 game, 1999 when he took it over. 99 when he took it over. The place is sold out.
Yeah.
Stadium sold out. Even sometimes Wisconsin's bad years, it's sold out. You go to the Big Ten Stadium, there's no empty seats. Purdue, when I was in, was sold out.
Sold out. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Now, at the SEC, my God, Mississippi State, you go to Starkville, it's sold out.
And Virginia Tech. They're going to sell out.
Virginia Tech, same thing. So, but when you look at the ACC, you go down and play Duke. You watch the cameras on those TV games when Wake and Duke are on.
Tech turns it into a home game. Yeah, Tech fan turns it into a home game. Yeah.
That camera's right on the field, and it doesn't leave the field. And at Carolina, same thing with UVA and Carolina. If they're not winning, you got a half full stadium.
Well, heck, even at UVA last year, they had a hard time getting them to fill out the game on national TV. It was like a big struggle just to get enough people in there to sell it out for that. It's just
in the Pac-10. Listen to this. In the Pac-10, I'm at Washington. We go play UCLA in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, not the Rose Bowl itself, but just that's their home field.
Yeah,
their quarterback
right.
had to call timeout in their own stadium in the end zone where all the Husky fans are. That's how many we had. We had more Husky fans than they had UCLA fans in Husky Stadium.
It's a quarter. It's a quarter full. I know. That's the biggest challenge. Yeah.
Got to call timeout, Rick. In the end zone where the Husky fans were in his own stadium.
Bob Chesney's going to get I'm going to say this. Bob Chesney is going to be in for a rude awakening that first home game in the Rose Bowl when he's looking around going, what am I doing here?
Hey, Stanford, nobody. So, the only big fall, Oregon was not Oregon at the time as they are now.
No, they are now.
They
right.
still had a big following. Oregon State, kind of like old Virginia Tech days, they had a rabid fan base, but it wasn't sold out. Arizona,
Washington State's pretty big though. Isn't Pulliam? Was it always full when you were
watching? It was a small stadium, 40,000 out in the middle of nowhere. I call it the only hole above the earth. It was in the middle of nowhere on the Palouse, But watching Arizona State, they usually had if they were winning, they would sell out. But the Pac-10 attendance, if it weren't for Southern Cal at the time before, Pete Carroll got
Coliseum?
There,
yeah, they're not in the Coliseum. They're not going to the Coliseum.
25,000 maxed.
Yep.
So Washington was the bell cow of the Pac-10 in terms of money.
You're right. Yep.
So you go to the Big Ten, SEC. The venues are there from top to bottom. It's maybe except for the last two teams of the conferences, you walk in those stadiums, they're sold out. They're rabid fans.
Rabid, yeah.
And you don't have that in the ACC. You don't have it in the ACC.
No.
NC State, that's a great fan base.
Yeah, that's a good fan base. Yeah, they do. They fill out their
South Carolina. Probably the two most underrated fan bases to me in the country are South Carolina and NC State. They don't get enough credit for fan bases because even when they don't win, they're there.
Yeah,
and they are. You play in Carter Finley. I remember when I was in East Carolina, we played in there, and I'm telling you what, it was like a bowl game. It was unbelievable.
That's why it's such a big year for Shane down there. Yeah,
I coach in that place too, and let me tell you, that is a rabid, and they'll stay there right to the end. They don't leave. They're not like Virginia Tech fans who leaving this past year. They never left.
Yeah, they'll stay there.
4-win season, phenomenal.
Well, it's a really good discussion, Coach. That's it's a lot to think about. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, I hope I'm still alive, Rick, but in 4 or 5 years, all this, there's going to be additions and deletions.
It's going to, I like it. Yep, 100%.
That's the president of Miami. I thought the credibility, I wish I could sit there and tell you that's what my crystal ball says, but this was the president of University of Miami making two statements I thought were very, wow statements.
Yeah.
Miami, speaking for Miami, and I think you look at Virginia Tech, and you can say that in the same breath. You're playing for conference realignment right now.
Right now. Yep.
Every win and loss will determine, and the money that you have. But even if you got the money and you're not winning, you hold on here now.
Yep. I like it.
You want to be in the SEC, Virginia Tech. Are you invested in winning a national championship, not the conference, and not having to win the season, and not going to the Peach Bowl? That shit that has changed drastically.
100%. It has.
30 years ago, it was, are you invested on having an 8-win season, getting to a bowl? Can we get to a bowl with an 8-9-win season? That was my quote standard of going into a 3-win Virginia or a 3-win Virginia Tech or a 1-win Minnesota or a 6-win Syracuse team. Can you get to that 8, 9, and 10 win and get into a major bowl or a New Year's Day bowl? That was the key. Can you get to a New Year's Day
Yeah,
bowl?
right.
You
Well,
know,
those
and now
conversations, they're about to
the
happen all
conversation,
over again. Yep.
Rick, here's the conversation right now. We win a national championship. Are we committed to getting in that hunt? And that's what the pressure of the 24 is going to put on.
Yeah.
You got to get in the 24 to get in that hunt, or 16, or wherever they go. And you think that's more pressure? You think it's less pressure? It's more pressure. Because if you're not the 24, you'll be fired.
You'll be fired. Yeah, that's right.
Look at the NFL, Rick. If
I
you
know.
don't make the playoffs, you're done.
I know. You could be a good coach and a pretty
You
good
got
team,
3
but
years,
yeah.
3 years, maybe 2 to 3, and no more than 3 as
At
tops.
most. At most. Yeah.
College right now and the NFL are on the same win-loss track.
That's right. They are.
2 to 3 years, both of them, to get
Where
in
you're
the
done.
playoff.
Where you're done.
Where you're
Right.
done.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah. Coach, great stuff, brother. As always, man. Appreciate you,
All
man.
right, Rick. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be on, Rick. Thank
It's
you.
an honor to have you on. Trust me. It's great. It's good. The education's always tremendous every time.
Hey, by the way, I had Todd evaluate that kid that's going to LSU. I don't know if he'll divulge his evaluation, but it was, like me, he liked the kid. He's a scholarship kid, no mistake about it. Where's your dollar value on the position played and how he's playing it? That to me
he felt the same way you did. Tech will never miss him.
Yeah,
Tech will never miss him.
That's me. I mean, hey, would you like to have him? Absolutely. Would you take him? Absolutely. Is he going to turn your program around?
No.
No. Let me tell you what. Who was the kid at Salem that went to Georgia? What was his name? Cole? What was that kid's name?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember. Cole. Yeah, I think it was Cole. Something like that.
Someone on chat can remember his name. But you know, at this time, when he's going into his senior year, at this time when Greg asked me to look at all the 247 because others ranked, you know where his pre-ranking was? 30th player, the 30th best player. Hey, it's a fact. Greg, so after I told Greg, I go, Greg, he jumped 29 spots for me. I said, I come out of retirement to coach this guy for one day. One day I love to coach this kid.
Right.
He was as good a player since I saw Lawrence Taylor, as good a high school talent dominating a game as I had seen. He's at Georgia now, and I guess driving around in a Lamborghini.
Probably so.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. All right, Coach.
I'll let you go. Sorry for the ramble.
Well, no, it's great. You're not rambling. Great stuff, brother. Take care, man.
Bye.
All right, man. Take care. Yeah, that's great from Coach Elmo right there. Chris Cole, that's it, Chris Lester. Let me go get Balboa. Supposed to be all SEC and info. Well, there you go. If Coach just said that, he'll be in the NFL. He'll be in the NFL. Let me get the kitty in, and I'll get Todd Grantham on. Hang on just a second. All right, we back. Good stuff. Chris Cole. That's it. That's the name. Pretty high praise there from Coach Elmo. Good conversation. So retraction in the conference. What if they asked Todd about that too? You know, I don't know how they're going to go about it, but it feels like it's going to happen. It does. It really does. Yeah, we had a great time, Chris. Yeah, you were great. Big pop. Coach Elmo was great. Everybody was great. That was fun. That's getting a lot of post-show views, by the way. A lot of rewatches of that. So we'll do it again here. I'm thinking, if not, probably next week we'll dive back into it. Thanks to all of our great sponsors: the NRV Super Bowl, Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, Top Shelf Apparel, Sundown Electric. Thanks to the Ready Set Fund, Professional Door Incorporated, sponsor of our text line, the attorney Ryan Pry, our BDST fan question of the week. Little River Heating and Air, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Family Fencing, sponsor of our studio, McClellan Chiropractic, National Bank member FDIC, Little River Heating and Air. All those fine folks that make the show possible each and every day. All right, joining us now on the program, we're rolling along here with that gentleman. He's the defensive coordinator of the UAB Blazers. His name is Todd Grantham. What's up, Coach? Good morning.
Good morning, bud. How you doing?
Doing okay. I want to follow up on something Coach Elmo was just talking about with the new contracts coming up and what the Miami president said on the podcast. Hey, we're all playing for the next realignment. I liked how forthcoming somebody's finally talking about this, looking at it. I wanted to ask you about all that. So it's going to be tied to the new TV deals. Does that mean that all this talk about a breakaway can't happen before then? Or does the breakaway, that if it does happen, could it be preemptive to lead into those deals? How do you see that timeline?
Yeah, well, I really did. I just got on here, so I didn't see what Elmo was saying. But obviously anything could happen between now and the new TV contracts. But everything is like the Big 12, for example. I know they were pushing to be ready for the next big jump, which was going to be like in the 2030s. And that's when the new TV, contracts come out. And that's when there'll be another big push. And honestly, that's, talking to, representatives, agents and things like that in the business side of it. That's where, when they were talking to me about it, that honestly, the ACC was fourth, meaning you had the SEC, the Big Ten, and truthfully, the way the Big 12 had positioned themselves, that in 2030, they were in position to become the third best or the third most profitable conference in the country. Yep. And that's where the ACC was going to be struggling, from that standpoint. And obviously, there was concern about, there being expansion before then. That was one of the reasons the ACC went out and took, all those, Stanford and Cal and SMU and all that, to make sure that they kept their numbers above the bylaw, which told them that everybody could opt out with no exit fee and everything. So that's kind of how all that's kind of shaken down. But there is some jockeying for position, because when the new TV market, our contracts come out, it's like anything. Hey, look at our conference. You know what I'm saying? Now we added this team or whatever. That becomes more marketable for more money. So there is some truth to all that.
So there'll be movement, like you say. You're trying to entice the best deals down the road you potentially could get.
What you're trying to do now is show that you have the funds to be competitive, that you can bring something to the table, athletically, financially, those kind of things. But there is jockeying for the next big TV contract.
And I think that's tied into what Virginia Tech is doing now, right? Showing off its money
that
it's
doubt.
Getting, right?
Yeah.
James Frank, right?
I mean,
they've
tried to, separate themselves from others to be in the upper echelon, so that when the ACC, Big Ten, even the Big 12 per se come into play, which one am I going to? You know what I'm saying? Because if that ever happened, then some of the ACC schools could be in trouble from that standpoint, about as far as where would they go and what would their home be.
Well, it's fascinating to see where all this jockeying is going to end up with everything. Another question, Coach Elmo, we were talking about the NFL, and you were there so many years. When you see what do you think's leading? Is it the competition that I think the average lifespan is now 3 years, a little over 3 years for a player?
It's always been around 3 years, from that standpoint. If you end up making it for 3 years, because that's where the pension is for the players,
right?
They have to have 3 full accredited seasons, and that kicks their pension in.
Do you think that that's because it's just the talent level so high? Is it injury? What do you think it is about guys not being able to hang on the average longer than that? Or like you said, it's been that way for a while now. So
Yeah, I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot. One, it's very talented. I mean, if you were to go watch an NFL practice or team, you'd be like, wow, these guys are really good. Even if you were to look at the quarterbacks who a lot of people complain about per se, and you were to compare them to college quarterbacks, you'd be like, wow, these guys are pretty good, right? So one, there is a talent thing that you're always competing for jobs. The next thing is there is a business side to it. In other words, what's your cost? So like in the NFL, the longer you're in, like your minimum salary goes up. Okay. So to pay the high price guys, you have to budget it out and have some low price guys. Well, those low price guys are generally, fifth, sixth, seventh round free agent, those kind of guys that are going to be make minimum. Whereas if you have that kind of guy who's 4 years in, well, his minimum is much higher. So you're going to pay more. So there is a business side to it from the standpoint of, what's our bang for our buck, and can we afford this guy at that position and that rating, as opposed to taking, say, a guy that just is coming out of college and his minimum salary is much lower. So there is a business side, to that. And then, it's just harder, I mean, it's just a competitive deal. So I think it's a combination of all that.
So how much of it is it about 50-50? You're looking at talent level, but like you said, these guys have to constantly keep in mind of the economics part of it, right? Like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it, and you're always looking to upgrade your roster. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the roster, like once you complete a season, you have a valuation. Now, what most teams do is you're gonna basically meet every week during the season. You're gonna go over who played, how they played, how you feel about them. So at the end of the year, when you talk about the guys, it's not like a surprise. You know, like you've kind of, where your rankings are. And then you have your rankings. And then from there, you kind of rank guys and you have them above the line or below the line. And then even though they're above the line, that's where the business side and the personnel side will come in from a cost standpoint. Can we afford this guy relative to what our needs are? Okay, so you have that. And then from there, everybody's trying, there's a lot of ways to upgrade your roster. So obviously one is getting, the first round pick and all that. But the thing that a lot of people lose sight of is you can upgrade your roster from the bottom too.
Right.
If you improve the bottom of your roster, you've improved your roster. So a lot of guys will look at it that way. And there is a cost element to it. The other thing is you could have a guy that you have at a low number. Okay. And then after those 3 years going into year 4, he becomes a free agent. So now he can go out and get better compensation, and maybe you're not in position to pay it. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to lose it that way. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. It's a combination of the bottom of your roster becoming available for a second contract. And that's where everybody in pro football is trying to get to the second contract. Because the first contract, you honestly don't need an agent. Now, you do in the sense of how it's structured and all that, so you do need an agent. But the money's slotted. Like if you're the first pick of the 4th round, this is what you get. If you're the second, it's all slotted now. But everybody's trying to get the second contract because then it's total free agency, just like it is in college football right now. Okay, and that's where everybody's getting. So what happens is guys that you have at a lower number get to the second contract. Now you can't afford them. Okay. And that's why you see all the quarterbacks being signed early is they don't want to get it to a bargaining tool. They want to keep them in house because that's such a premier position. That's why you see all the quarterbacks, with early signings and all that to keep it from going to open market.
Well, it's interesting. The business part of it's the whole roster construction is just so much different than even we know and we hear about, right? It's interesting. Those decisions that go into those final pieces, like you said, from the bottom up in a lot of cases. So
yeah, I mean, and then it's who you're going to pay and where you're going to put your money. I mean, and then the way you evaluate them is okay, how many downs is a guy playing? For example, on defense, he's a 2-down player. So that means he's a first, second down player. Well, you could also have a 2-down player that plays 3rd down and 4th down, meaning special teams. Now, obviously, his salary would not be as high as maybe a truly a 2-down player. But then you have 2-down players that are first, second down, 2-down players that are 3rd and 4th down. Then you have what we call 3-down players, which means they play first, second, and 3rd down. And then obviously there's a premier for guys that can rush and cover, because in the league there's so many balls thrown and And that part of it is, so defensively, you look for guys that can rush and cover. And then offensively, obviously the quarterback, and then who can protect the quarterback. So those things, fall into play as far as how you pay. And the theory is you're going to put more money into those positions than you are, like say a guard, or a guard, for example, on offense, or a nose tackle on defense, or an inside linebacker on defense.
Is that how the second and third most important positions go? That offside tackle, and then of course cornerback after quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think offensively, it's obviously the quarterback, and then who can protect the quarterback, right? And then obviously who you going to throw it to, from that standpoint. And then what's happened nowadays is because of the rules, you can cover them outside. Well, if you're playing a split safety coverage and you're covering them outside, that means you're one-on-one underneath. So that's where the tight ends have become such a premier, the Travis Kelce's, going all the way back to Antonio Gates and those kind of guys, even like a guy like Kellen Winslow back in the day. I mean, what happens is you can't double everybody, right? So if I'm gonna play and help my corners out and play some kind of cover 2 shell or whatever, well, that means I'm underneath man to man, and I'm really one-on-one. Well, that's where the tight ends come into play, for the possession routes underneath from that standpoint. And that's why defensively, you end up with different personnel groupings, meaning you have a base package, which is 2 traditional linebackers like we're talking about. And then defensively, you can go to a dime package, which means you add another cover linebacker, which actually could be a safety. Okay, that drops down in the box is what we call our money linebacker. And then that way you get a better matchup, on that guy. Like I had Alec Ogletree when he was when I was at Georgia. He played for 10 years in the National Football League as a first-round pick. And the reason he was so valuable is he was a safety in high school, and he grew up to 235 pounds while he was at Georgia. And, I mean, he ran like a safety. So, therefore, he was a 3-down player, but he could cover the hard downs underneath, one-on-one against, better tight ends and everything. So that ends up being, factored into the equation too.
Coach Will on the text line, professional text line, asks, Coach, will leagues like the SEC or the Big Ten give up their identity once the Super League is formed, or will those two leagues continue to be named whatever it's going to be? What do you think?
Yeah, we'll see how that rolls. I mean, obviously, if there's a Super League, they'll be a part of it and everything. But I don't think that those two are going to lose their brand. I mean, the one thing about the SEC, if you look, their marketing of brand and image and what they've done, they have created a lot of value for their universities with what they've done, and they are very viewed, and they're really the most viewed of the Big Ten and the SEC, as far as, like, if you looked at all the top 10 games from last year, 8 out of 10 had an SEC team involved, and half of those were 2 SEC teams. So I don't think that they'll ever lose their brand or their image. I just think that they'll come up with a creative way to market it together, but it'll still be, they're marketing their schools and their universities.
Yeah, that's why the Big Ten, one of the arguments, they didn't change their logo, right, for 16 teams, right? Well, because of the brand, just because everybody sees it, they know what it is.
That's right. So, yeah, the Big 16 doesn't sound as good as the Big
10. No, it doesn't sound the same at all. Doesn't sound the same.
That's right.
So what's happening down in Birmingham this week with you guys?
I tell you what, it's been hectic. So what happens now is obviously we just finished up. The dead period went into play on Sunday. So what that means to people is you won't hear much more about, like, recruiting, for example, on campus, because you're no longer allowed to be on campus. So now it's what they call a dead period. So we just got done with our official visits. We had a few more in this weekend, and I feel really good about, where we are with that aspect of it. And now to be on to the next phase. Our coaches actually started vacation today. I ended up, we have 5 weeks, and you kind of choose which week you want to be in the office. I took the first week just because I want to make sure things get on the right foot and which way we're going and that kind of thing. And we'll still continue with a normal schedule this week as far as how we meet and all that. We just got myself and a secondary coach here, so it'll be a little bit of a skeleton crew, but that's okay. We know what we need to get done. And then after that, I'll actually be on vacation, but the players will be here Monday, Tuesday of next week, and then they'll get like a 5-day break for July 4th. And then when they come back come back, we kind of switch it to a little bit more emphasis on speed and conditioning and those kind of things. In other words, ramping up for the season, right? So we'll transition into where they'll work out twice a week as a team, okay, on the field. And I've already done, like last week, there's I guess 8 of them. I've already did the installs and the installations, which is nothing new. And basically the coaches, whoever's responsible for that week, will be responsible for the defense per se. And they'll kind of do that, and everything's set up for the next 5 weeks, to be honest. So we'll kind of, go that route. But the biggest thing is, it's always, this is the next phase, and it's like getting off to the right foot, right? So my emphasis this week is ownership in the team and taking off as a team, because, like, for example, if you're a pilot and you're getting to go from LA to New York, right? And I'm going to land. Well, if I'm a foot off at landing, that's really not that big a deal. Okay. But if I'm a foot off on takeoff, I could end up in the ocean. Right. So therefore, when you look at your takeoff and the start of your program, so I look at this next phase as a new starting point for us. And it's a little bit more player driven. Okay. Because they're really the ones that are around. So I think our takeoff needs to be important, and we need to be on spot and on course. And my message is like, look, on your takeoff, you need to be exact, because if you're a foot off, you land in the ocean. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, so anyway, that's kind of my theory, or my deal with those guys, and kind of go that route with it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you look for? Is there a certain time frame when guys get back that you want them back up to snuff from where you left off when they left for the summer, right?
Yeah.
How quickly
Well,
you
the
want
thing
that
of
to
it is
look
now is nobody leaves for the summer. Now everybody's here.
True.
That's why you see guys graduating. Like back in the day when I was, and it really started a little bit when I was in college, is guys could go to summer school. But honestly, a lot of guys went home and worked, and really universities didn't want to pay for summer school. You know what I'm saying? So you didn't go to summer school.
Yeah.
And then, like my second or third year at Virginia Tech, that became a deal. And I guess it was when Coach Beamer came there that we actually would go to summer school. And it's kind of, everybody goes to summer school now, which is really a good thing, because one, they work out together. There is a bonding, all that. And you can take a couple classes if you choose to get ahead academically, to stay on course so you can get your degree. So, no one really leaves now. Okay. No one leaves now. Everybody's here. They're working out, they're training. And it really, what happens is when you get into August, I mean, you're just going to the next phase. Like, they're in shape, you know what I'm saying? And they're peaking at the right time.
Is there a uniform time when pads go back on in college football, or is that up to each individual staff?
So no, what happens is everything right now is in shorts and t-shirts and things like that, right? And then it depends upon your first game. Like, for example, we play Illinois on a Thursday night on the Big Ten Network. So our reporting date is August 2nd, okay? And we really got a good schedule. Like, we kind of took a little bit of what Coach Mortensen had done at Alabama, and, my thoughts are what we had done in pro football, and how do we mesh this together within the rules. So the first thing is there's a 5-day acclimation period. So what happens there is like the first 2 days you're in shorts and helmets, right? The next day you put the pads on, and then the next day you put your thigh pads in, and the last day you're in full gear. So it's an acclimation period up until, getting the full gear per se. Okay. So that kind of starts August the 2nd. And then the thing that we'll do is we're going to go Monday, Tuesday. Okay. And we'll go pretty hard, and it'll be a work day, right? We'll meet and practice in the morning. They'll have lunch, then they'll take a nap, then they'll come back in the afternoon. And then we'll do, we'll watch the tape from the morning, and we'll install and do a walkthrough the next day, right? So then you try to get everybody out of here around dinner time so you can feed them a good meal. Then they can go to bed, and you'll do that, say, Monday, Tuesday. Then Wednesday will be an off day, but our off day is going to be more rehab, recovery emphasis, with the idea that, you're going to rehab, recover. We'll make sure we feed them really good, and we'll meet, watch the tape from the previous day, and we will do an install. per se, right? And then we'll come back and go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, another stretch of practices, same format that I just talked about. And then Sunday will be a total off day. Okay, so that way they get out of the building totally off. And gives them a break mentally, and they're back off. And then we'll come back Monday and do the same thing. So we'll do that for a couple of weeks until school starts. And I think it allows you to maximize your time and, give them some breaks when they need it to maybe you can, the practices aren't necessarily long. It's just they're pretty intense. And, we'll kind of go that route with it for a few weeks until school starts.
Has that adjusted, like you mentioned, over the years and your stops as the game has evolved, coaches, staffs? I mean, is that adjusted itself as well? The mental breaks and the things that you need to kind of keep guys.
The things that have, like it used to be, you'd go out for 2-a-days, and even in the 2-a-days, even when I was in pro football, was the morning was more of a run game emphasis, and the afternoon was more of a pass emphasis. So you really just had shoulder pads on per se, right? And that was even when I was in the National Football League. And the biggest thing is learning and, because knowledge creates power, right? The more I know, the faster I can play and communicate and all that. So what I've looked at is okay, you can only practice once a day, but you can actually meet and walk through. And what can I get done out of the walkthroughs with formation adjustments, movements, teach passes, things like that from a mental to challenge the guy mentally. So we may not be doing the physical aspect, and we did it already in the morning, but we can mentally challenge you to make sure that we understand the total concept, the whole defense, that we can communicate and do those things. So that's to me the thing that you got to get done in the walkthrough in the afternoon is prepare for the next day so the guys can go out and execute, but then also challenge them mentally with adjustments or things that may only happen 10% of the time, but you still got to be ready to play it and all that kind of stuff. So that's to me where as a coach you can separate yourself from other people.
That's cool. Hey, Prometheus asked, Coach, how early do you start? We've kind of touched on this, but I don't remember the answer. How early do you start putting in game plan for Illinois? Is it 2 weeks out? Is it a week out? When does that start?
Yeah. Well, you actually, when you look at your core defense, you're putting it in now, right? Per se, like you're not going to change everything you do for, say, a team, right? You've actually put in your core of what you're going to do, especially first, second down wise, all throughout spring and even through the summer. But then you'll get into more specifics, and you'll actually, like our menu for say the Illinois game will be smaller than it was in spring practice, because in spring practice you're installing your total toolbox per se. You're installing everything that you need for the season relative to who you're playing. Well, then once you get to a specific game, you're going to whittle that toolbox down, and you're only going to do these certain things because this is what you need to win the game. So we'll actually start that probably, I would say if we're playing on a Thursday, it would probably be about 9 days out where we'll get 2 extra practices on it. And we'll kind of go that route with it, obviously with first, second down. And then third down can be a little more specific relative to protections or, maybe who their go-to guy is third down relative to what they have and that kind of stuff. So that can change a little bit. But honestly, a lot of the stuff you're going to do is already in, and you may tweak it here or there, but it's not a lot of changes on the early downs and things like that.
Well, how do you go about scouting a week one opponent? I guess how much do you base on who's back from last year? Is there going to be so much turnover going forward? Just tendencies of the coach to what they have run in the past, things like that.
Well, it's really a cumulative effect of a lot of things, right? So in other words, obviously you got to look at the coordinator and what's his history. So if he's been at a place for a while, then you're going to look at, previous tape and kind of see their tendencies and kind of maybe what they've run in the past, personnel grouping, how they've utilized people, right? So you have that. If the guy's coming from a brand new place and he's never been there, you just kind of got to research, what he's done in the past or at his previous stop, because that's what he knows. So you're going to kind of go that route with it. As far as players go, if you want to look at returning players, so you can do that, and you can look at returning players within the system. So in other words, like if you're playing a team and they got, 7 returners on offense, well, you can pretty much watch last year's tape, right? Because 7 of the 11 are playing, and you can get a good feel on that, and you'll show that. With the portal thing now, you have these independent guys coming in that, they were at somewhere else the year before. Well, based upon who they are, like, for example, and I just go, so you can go to PFF, for example, and let's say that it's an offensive lineman. Well, I can go to PFF, and PFF has this thing called sack. It'll tell me I want all the sacks, quarterback hits, and pressures this guy's given up, right? So I can have PFF make me a tape, and I can put it in, and I can watch this kid independently to say he struggles with speed, or he struggles with power, or hey, TE games, give this guy trouble and all that. So I can add that to my implementation. Just like if you got a skill guy, is he a big body guy that maybe you want to press? Is he got a speed element to him? Like he like, for example, how many, like you can look and say on PFF, how many plays does he have over 20 yards? Okay. Well, he was, in the top 20 in explosive plays at his previous stop. Well, I want to look at all those plays and see what, because they're going to add that to their offense per se.
Yeah.
So as in the early part of the season, particularly like the first 4 games, it's going to be a mixture of what they had done last year. And then you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to look at the other guys that are coming in until you get enough data on them for this year to be able to make an educated decision on the type of player they are, what they do and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's like it's technology, you just got to go to the PFF and kind of research those guys, but I used to do that in pro football. Like in pro football, I would make a tape of every lineman. Okay. And it would be pressure rates. In other words, how many sacks they gave up, how many pressures they gave up, how many quarterback hits. And I would put that in a category of speed moves, power moves per se. Well, then I would send it to the players, because I don't have, even in pro football, you don't have time to show them all of that. Now I can give you a summary of a guy, but you need to watch the tape. And the reason I think it's important to do that like early in the week is then when we get on the field, you need to have a game plan for how you're going to rush the guy. Okay. Yep. And then therefore you can start implementing those type of rushes into practice for that week. So that come Saturday, you're on top of your game plan. Same thing with corners, about pressing a guy or not, and how that's going to work. So really, I think it's like anything, man. You're teaching guys, you're educating guys, but it's giving them information to allow them to make educated decisions. And allow them to play fast and allow them to play up to their ability or maybe beyond their ability a little bit. So that's kind of what we'll do. And that's really, to be honest with you, we've already started that. Okay, that I've already talked about with some of our teams. And we'll kind of do those as projects while we're in for our week. Like when coaches are in, they'll work on some of those things for the first 3 opponents.
No, it's a good education for us as well. All right, brother. Good stuff. Enjoy the week. I know you will. You can batten down the hatches while guys are gone. I know.
Yeah, so, man. One more week and then get to go on a little vacation. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, all right. We get to follow your fishing trips at that point. That'd be good.
There you go.
All right, brother. Take care, man. We'll talk.
Take care. See you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Coach. There you go. Coach Todd Durethan. Man, that's awesome. That's great stuff. What an education we get. That's cool. That's cool. How it all comes together just fascinates me. Thanks to everybody in chat. Thanks to everybody on the Professional Door text line, McClellan chat. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Thanks to all the contributions of Coach Elmo and Coach Grantham. Good way to start the Monday here, Reaction Monday. Tomorrow, Tuesday on the program, Marva will join us. We'll see if she's happy about North Carolina winning a national baseball championship. We got game 3, the decider, Carolina and Oklahoma. Everybody take care. Please subscribe, like, and share. Go back to the channel later because we're going to have shorts up of every show. And you can get about a minute or so, minute and a half clips of your favorite conversational pieces here on the program. Take care, everybody. I hope we made your Monday a little bit better. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Tuesday edition. Take care.